Shalom and welcome to today's Bible study. This week's parsha that's coming up, part of it is Numbers chapter 11. And we had a little problem in this chapter with the children of Israel complaining about the food that God was giving them to eat. And so God decided to discuss this with the children of Israel and help them to understand things a little bit better. Jamal and Christine have been thinking about this. And Jamal, what is it that's come to your mind when you think about this story here when the children of Israel were complaining about the food they had?
I was thinking about complaining in my own life. There was a story where my dad came to me and he was talking to me about jail, because this was a time where I was pretty rowdy. So he's saying, we're going to take you to the jail. And of course I'm complaining. So I'm like, no, I don't want to go. So he drags me in the car and we're driving, and the whole ride I'm complaining. And then we finally stop, and I don't even realize where we are because I've been complaining the whole time. But we're at a Ross, and he's telling me, you know, here we are. And the truth of the matter is, he was just trying to surprise me and take me shopping, and I was complaining the whole time. So yeah, by that time, I didn't even want anything because I felt so bad. I was complaining the whole time, so I didn't even deserve anything. Is how I felt. But yet still, he still took me inside and got me clothes that I needed for school the week before school started. So I just think about their complaining, and sometimes we don't realize God is always trying to do something for us, but we don't like the current circumstances when we know He works all things for the good.
Don't always appreciate the provision and the things that God has for us there.
And then you think about punishment, and you think about the punishment and how we're children of God, and you think about how a parent disciplines you. But in this case, when we speak about these people during those times, God would literally send fire upon us, and because of His grace and mercy, we don't experience those kinds of, you know, what we call hardships or pardons. But you know, we always want what we can't have for some reason, and during those times, you know, they were slaves, but they were free, and they wanted to go back to Egypt because they had food. And then, you know, God's like, well, you want food, I'll give you food. He sends meat, and this meat is for every single day. I mean, from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, for an entire month they're eating nothing but meat, so where it was coming out of themselves. And sometimes I feel like that was sweets. I love sweets so much that I could eat it all day, all night. But then there's sometimes where it's just so sickening because, you know, it's just too much. So I feel like when we complain and when we take things for granted, we actually lose sight of God, you know.
That's great. Complaining. It is this here, it's in the scripture with Moses and the children of Israel, but this is not something that just the Jews way back thousands of years did. This is something that every one of us living today, every year throughout history, struggle with. And we complain, as they shared, about simple things. We're just not appreciative and grateful and thankful for the things we have. We wind up complaining. But listen here, when you do complain and mom and dad or some boss or whatever steps in, intervenes and disciplines, I want you to remember Numbers chapter 11 and see that when the children of Israel complained, God sent fire to deal with them. And then He gave them, as Christine said, so much meat it was coming out of their nostrils and made them sick. And so when you start to complain, I want you to think of this story, Numbers chapter 11, and let it catch you and put an end to your complaining, so that you don't have to suffer the consequences of that. You need to learn to be grateful and appreciative of all the things that God has given you, your parents have given you, or your family members have given you. And so Jamal and Christine, thanks for joining me. Thank you for watching. Until next time, this has been Rabbi Ron in the house.